And I'm a certified professional consultant on aging with Chartwell Retirement Residences. We are proud partners and sponsors of Caregivers Alberta summertime programs this year. Every day we help families who are aging loved ones or their spouses find the resources that they need to support their caregiving journey. Valuable resources such as Caregivers Alberta. These resources can alleviate stress and bring peace of mind to your situation. For more information on how you can connect and find these resources with Chartwell Retirement Residences, please visit chartwell.com, or if you'd like to speak to a consultant in your area, dial 1-855-844-3923. Thank you so much and have a wonderful program.
So welcome everybody to Beauty Amidst Tragedy. And my name is Lana Matthews. I'm your presenter for today. I'm also a coach for Caregivers Alberta. I have a social work background with training as an end-of-life doula. I have experience working with both children with behavioral disorders and seniors who suffer from mental health disorders. These are two of my favorite populations because children are the foundation of our future and seniors bring wisdom and lived experience to help make sense of our world. This mini workshop allows us to use a new lens to shift our perspectives so that we can find meaning and beauty amidst tragedy. We all know that saying goodbye to a loved one is never easy. So together we're going to have those difficult conversations and we're going to discuss the importance of planning for the final days. To do this, you're going to need a person-centered perspective. And this means that you're going to consider the person first before the illness. We will personalize the end by being prepared, having mutual understanding of the plan, and we're going to learn ways to become resilient. So I like to think of resilience as having that malleable brain, one that is flexible, adaptable, and acceptable to change. We will also understand the role of the caregiver and the needs and the rights of the care recipient. We will explore grief and we will learn ways to support someone who's grieving. And lastly, we're going to fill our hearts with compassion and gratitude. So when we shift our perspective, what do we want to consider? We're shifting our mindset. We're using a new lens. And to do that, sometimes we need to step back from the situation, take a deep breath, maybe take more than one deep breath, and be open to change. And by doing so, you're open to considering other people's feelings. It's important to consider the care recipient's dignity. So make a point of becoming familiar with the care recipient's wants and needs. And it is also important to remove our personal biases. And what I mean by that is to adjust your perspective. I'm going to introduce you to another perspective. And this perspective is personalizing the end with the Coffin Club.
I'm a cat lover. As you can see, I decorated my coffin in pictures of cats taken from magazines, calendars, photographs.
I decided to decorate my coffin with a checkered flag, and this relates to my life of motor car racing, and it's ended up as a checkered flag, which is the finish of my life.
I joined because I heard that everybody had so much fun when they came here.
Well, at my age, I've been starting to go to several funerals, and most of them were very plain. A few were decorated, and I thought, well, I'd like to liven mine up a little bit.
It all came about because I thought I'd like to make my own coffin. At first, there was, could I say, a dead silence, but after a little while there was a queue to see me, was people that had had problems in the past about dealing with death in the family, and they suddenly thought, well, it's quite good to talk about those, it's very healing. We celebrate birth very, very much, and at the other end of life, death was rather a sombre hush-hush happening, whereas I believe that it should be a celebration.
Coffins being so expensive from a funeral director, lots of people really can't afford it. And this is the way to go, and also it's personalized. You know, it's what you really want on a coffin. The socialization for people who are a bit older is just perfect. You know, people looking forward to come on Wednesday. They have people to talk to. Sometimes it's just the only outing that they have on a Wednesday.
There are more and more people living longer. There are more and more people whose families are way out of touch because they're in other countries. There is a lot of loneliness.
When I retired, I realised I needed people, and the Coffin Club was my same age group. We enjoy each other's fellowship. If we can see that somebody needs help, it's amazing just how people get around that particular person and help them through their problem.
I have had 50 people from 50 countries, when I last counted, getting in touch with me, and okay, they've got to look at their own culture and their own concept about death and dying. There's been so many started. England's just buzzing. We've had China, Japan. It's just wonderful, and I'm so proud of everybody for that reason. We've started something and it's working well.
So when we practice shifting our perspectives, it allows us to look at things with our new lens. It'll help you to walk in someone else's shoes, examine your biases, and just get you out of your usual environment, that place of being stuck. So when we use this new lens, we're going to look at personal space. I'm talking about the environment. So whether or not your loved one is at home, perhaps in the hospital or in a palliative care facility or a seniors facility, you can still use your imagination to create these comforting spaces. Just keep in mind, think about person-centeredness. Remember that this is about honoring the care recipient's wishes and being open to experiences. Engage in your senses. What will the space look like? Perhaps your loved one could find comfort with more of an upbeat atmosphere. Maybe your loved one likes to play the Beatles' greatest hits. So I want you to take a minute and jot down some ideas that you think would help the care recipient personalize their space. Maybe you want to consider videos, candles, prayer, short stories, maybe some art, wall hangings, plants, maybe even the sound of nature, the smell of baking, the feeling of the warm sun. So we're creating a space for our loved ones. So our loved one perhaps isn't feeling very well. Maybe our loved one is experiencing the end of life. So we want to make this space comfortable for that person. So what are some things that you can do to create this space and honor the care recipient? Would you add a favorite blanket or a quilt, flowers? Would you put medals and trophies in the room? And what about a pet? Would you bring a pet into the room? So these are all things that would certainly work for some people. Everybody, of course, likes something a little bit different. Once again, when I talked about finding beauty and finding peace and creating the environment, it's not always what we might see the environment. It's looking at what that care recipient would like. What is comforting to that person? It may not be as comforting to you. But if you can generate some ideas and have those discussions, it just might open up some doors and And maybe you might be surprised with some of the answers that they come up with. This next screen here, we're going to turn our attention towards these two photos, and they engaged in their senses. They were really present in the moment. So when we look at these photos, we want to look at, what do we see? What do we hear? What do we smell? What do we feel? And if we take a look at the photo with the gentleman's pet sitting on his lap, it's nurturing, it's comforting. And I don't know about you, but it puts a smile on my face.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, these pictures truly demonstrate connection, belonging, conversing, laughter, love, and comfort. And that's really what we're trying to do today, is create that personalized space. So then how do we do this? How do we plan for the end? Well, we start by having those difficult conversations as we are today. And we can do this by preparing a set of guidelines, and then we can share those guidelines with our family. And when we do this, it's going to avoid those disagreements among family members. Everyone's going to be on the same page. They're going to know what to expect. You know, I wonder if many of us do not plan for the end because maybe we don't understand our choices or the benefits of planning. But I want you to consider this. And, you know, and this has been said during the Coffin Club video, you know, there really is that beginning and end to life. We know that. And so we celebrate the gift of life, and we do this in preparation. You know, we may prepare the baby's room and choose the colors and really create that personality, that sense of space created with our senses, our imagination. So why shouldn't we do the same for the end of life then? So then, you know, why does it matter to have those conversations around planning for the final days? Well, because the care recipient matters, that's why. And you matter. So instead of suffering through the experience, we will be more prepared. We will be less afraid, perhaps less anxious. And then we can really focus our attention on that care recipient. And this will give us a sense of control. And our plan will deepen with the sense of meaning with the dying experience. So overall, planning will ease the stress. It'll allow you to focus more on the care recipient. And the caregiver and the care recipient will have this mutual understanding of the expectations. And because this is a time for letting go of your regrets or any shame that we might all have, you know, the things that we feel accountable for, the expectations we set on ourselves, our standards, you know, the little voice inside our head that says, if only I would have, or I could have, or I should have. Remember, you know, pain and suffering, they are very normal, and the emotional pain can be just as hard as the physical pain. So how do we personalize the end? Well, we begin by shifting our perspective. That's the conversation about the new lens, the person-centeredness. And we focus on that individual, and we consider that individual versus the illness. We prepare our legal documents. We state our wishes with a written plan, and that plan will provide clear direction. It might include, you know, maybe the care recipient would like you to share stories with them, maybe pray, maybe having their pet to visit, maybe they like the blinds open, maybe they would like to be outside and enjoy that summer breeze. Part of this planning is making funeral arrangements. Not an easy thing to do, but it's one less thing to think about when you're trying to support your loved one through the end of the process. You want to look at how you want to be remembered. And in doing so, we talked about creating that comforting space. What will that space look like? And what will you use to create this space? Did you consider the person first? Did you use that person-centered perspectiveness? And were you open to experience? Did you consider a set of guidelines to include legal documents, including yours and the care recipients? What about your well-being? the emotional preparedness. Did we consider how we want to be remembered, how your loved one wants to be remembered, and how to preserve their memories? Yeah, and it's really difficult when someone does have dementia. You're not going to have those same conversations, but this is more about the preparatory stages. It's even when we don't know these things because we didn't have the knowledge of how to do this, it's even planning and making those decisions as the agent, as the caregiver for your loved one. So, we could still do this regardless of the illness, just creating those comfortable rooms, having those conversations with our families, asking ourselves these questions too, reaching out and attending education seminars and so forth are all very helpful. Organizing a fundraiser, a charity concert, maybe planning a run in one's honor, a soccer game, a tea, a raffle, or a park bench are some ways to keep their legacy alive. Did anyone find that there were any barriers? The barriers around regrets and shame and guilt. Did anyone discuss, how to remove those barriers? No. Really important that we know that we're human, we make mistakes. If there's something that has been lingering for many years or maybe even a short time, try to find a way to patch that relationship, to remove the regrets and the shame, the guilt around it, and just know that you're not always going to get it right. This next video, it represents only one idea of what the end of life might look like. It's a video from the Pilgrims Hospice Society Rosen Family Hospice Center. To me, it demonstrates that person-centeredness to include the family.
Welcome to the Rosen Family Hospice Center, Edmonton's first freestanding residential hospice center, a home built by the community for the community. Purpose-built to house supportive programming, residential hospice care, and grief support services, the Rosen Family Hospice Center was designed with care, comfort, safety, and functionality top of mind. When arriving at the Rosen Family Hospice Center, each person will be greeted and provided directions by caring volunteers. Upon entering the building, guests will find themselves in the warm and welcoming great room, featuring a beautiful fireplace, conversation nooks, and access to the fully landscaped courtyard and garden. The main floor is the heart of the hospice, a warm and family-friendly end-of-life residence with 12 private suites. Hospice suites are designed for safety and comfort with state-of-the-art equipment, including hospice cuddle beds that expand to allow loved ones to lay together, a concealed overhead lift system to enable excellent medical care and support while maintaining a residential atmosphere, and a comfortable lift chair to enable safe and comfortable transitioning from a seated position to standing for those with limited mobility or balance issues. Furnishings include a smart TV, electric fireplace, built-in cabinetry and desk, as well as a small fridge. Comfortable couches convert to sleeping space for loved ones. An ensuite bathroom with storage completes the private space. For residents and family members who wish to experience a change of space, wide doorways allow beds to move throughout the building and out into the courtyard. On the residential floor, you will find 2 spa rooms designed with resident comfort in mind, peaceful and calming space. The spa room has a jetted soaker tub and a large barrier-free shower. Both spa rooms also feature the overhead lift system. The nursing and interdisciplinary station is conveniently located just steps away from the great room. This space allows the interdisciplinary team to collaborate in the provision of exceptional end-of-life palliative care to our residents and support to their families and loved ones. Also on this floor are 2 family room spaces. one that can convert to a guest suite for families to stay the night, and a quiet room where loved ones can reflect and relax. The second floor is easily accessed by a beautiful staircase or elevator, opening to a large living and dining area featuring the warmth of a gas fireplace. Also within this space is a beautiful kitchen where the in-house chef and volunteers will prepare meals and snacks for our residents and guests. This inviting gathering space for residents, families, and guests is filled with openness and light, with views of the courtyard below and the park across the street. Completing this space is an attached private family dining room where families can gather to celebrate a special occasion or to simply enjoy a family meal together. Dedicated counseling space is also housed on the second floor, with 2 warm, soothing, and comfortable counseling rooms for individuals and family counseling. Board and committee meetings will be held in the modern and inviting conference room. The lower level of the Rosen Family Hospice Center is home to wraparound supportive programming offered by Pilgrim's Hospice Society. These programs are a much-needed resource for individuals and their loved ones as they live with a life-limiting illness or the grief that accompanies the death of a loved one. The Hospice Day Program space is bright and spacious, enabling clients to experience recreational wellness activities that encourage the exploration of new interests, the opportunity to do more, to learn new skills, and to live life well. Adjacent to the Hospice Day Program space is a multi-purpose room that can seat up to 75 people. This space is designed for the delivery of community education, professional education, volunteer and staff training, as well as celebrations of life and other special events. The expressive arts program for children, families, and teens will be delivered from 2 purpose-built art studios. Warm, fun, and inviting, these spaces will help even the youngest mourners learn to understand and express their feelings through a variety of art and group counseling activities. And while children and teens participate in the program, a group support session for their parents or caregivers runs simultaneously from the Hospice Day Program room. Complementary therapies are a welcome respite for clients and caregivers alike. The Complementary Therapy Spas offers clients and their caregivers the opportunity to relax and experience therapies such as massage, reflexology, aromatherapy, and therapeutic touch. The Rosen Family Hospice Center is a place of comfort and compassion, combining the best end-of-life care models from across the country. The center offers specialized person and family-centered care from a home-like community setting. For more information, please visit pilgrimshospice.com.
So what I liked about this particular video, it really spoke to the person as well as it included the family. They have these large doorways that you could roll the whole bed out and take your loved one outside. Now, this is just one way of creating that personalized space. This is very elaborate, so you can do other things to create that space as well. I do know that they offer 13 beds. I think it's 12 or 13 beds there. It is free. It's all donated by charitable organizations. After we have those conversations around planning, it's really important to understand the grieving process. And David Kessler says, a part of us dies with them and a part of them dies and lives with us. So by doing this planning, it helps us to make sense of our reality. We will learn how to cope with the change and the complexities of grief. We will have that understanding and guidance for how to anticipate and deal with such issues. The change that we experience when our loved one is nearing death can be both difficult and challenging. Challenging with relationships. The time that we spend together may look a little bit different. The things that we once were able to do perhaps we can no longer do those things. And then there's the physical changes of the care recipient nearing the end of life, with the food and the fluid intake will stop, the blood pressure decreases, you may see the modeling of the skin will feel cold and clammy. There might even be those gurgling sounds. That's where the breathing becomes labored. So it's really important that we educate ourselves so that we reduce some of the stress around death and dying. So I'm sure many of you seen and heard about Kubler's Roth, Kubler's Roth grief cycle. She was a psychiatrist and she studied death and dying with David Kessler. She died in 2004 of cancer, and really all they wanted to do was provide us with a framework to help us understand how we might grieve. So we know that we grieve, it's non-linear. So that means that we may go from one emotion to the other. We may only experience a couple of emotions. Does this framework help you to understand why you might be feeling the way you do or did? And David Kessler, he added one more stage or cycle, and that is finding meaning, finding yourself, having the ability to move forward and find closure. And when we are searching for ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, what grounds us and what helps us to feel connected to the present moment? What are your future plans? How will you spend each day? Remember, we can't run from pain and grief, so we need to face the storm. So find that peace and be able to forgive yourself and let go of that possible anger, maybe the hatred and unresolved feelings that we might be experiencing. Practice gratitude and be grateful for our five senses and the ability to walk and run. I'm going to take this one step further with the radical gratitude. That's the gratefulness that we can find during the difficult times. And that is certainly one way to find beauty amidst tragedy. So we're going to look at some unhelpful things to say when someone is grieving. And I'm sure that many of us struggle with what to say to someone who is grieving. In fact, you may notice that you had said one or more of these unsupportive statements. But just know that we're not going to always get it right and that our words are unintentional. So at least she lived a long life. Many people die young. Oh, he's in a better place. Well, she brought this on herself. There's a reason for everything. Aren't you over him yet? He's been dead for a while. You can have another child. She was such a good person. God wanted to be with him. Well, I know how you feel. She did what she came here to do, and it was time to go. Be strong. Here are some helpful things that we can say to someone who is grieving. I'm so sorry for your loss. I wish I had the right words. Just know that I care. I don't know how you feel, but I'm here to help you. You and your loved one will be in my thoughts and prayers. My favorite memory of your loved one is, I'm always just a phone call away. Give a hug, say nothing. I'm here for you. I'm usually up early or late. If you need anything, say nothing, just be with the person. So when we don't know what to say and we can't find those words, saying nothing is probably just as good as saying something that might be unhelpful. It's really about the nonverbal communication. We can express that with our gesture, like a hand on one shoulder, a hug, and that really demonstrates how we care about people. So helpful traits would be then, don't fix, respect, the other person's feelings. Don't tell people what to do. Recognize the loss and that there is no time limit on grieving. Unhelpful traits would be someone who wants to fix the loss. They're more about the discomfort. They're more directive in nature. They rationalize or try to explain the loss. And they might even be judgmental, maybe minimize the loss or put a time limit on the loss. So, just look at grief uniquely and don't compare yourself to others who are grieving, and don't try to fix other people's grieving. We all heard the expression time and time again, don't judge a book by its cover. How someone appears on the outside may not demonstrate what they're going through on the inside. We know that, we've heard that, and just create that awareness and know that it's okay to cry. But also know that it's okay not to cry. So when we personalize the in, we're going to personalize this with the needs of the dying. So how do you want to remember your loved one? And how does the care recipient want to remember you in their final days? Take care of your well-being. So we're talking about the caregiver role. Seek who empowers you. Seek comfort and support from family, friends, a spiritual God, journaling. You know, it certainly is draining to share our stories. So choose your support wisely. Look for friends who understand and who have the time to listen. Find meaning in loss. Find you. Find that closure piece, that's the acceptance piece, and practice gratitude. Be supportive of your loved one's needs. Plan ahead, that's the education piece, and be your care recipient's voice and advocate. Consider your choices that you have in life and make the right decisions with confidence, and base your decisions on the needs of the care recipient. Choose that path that offers the best possibilities. It's the path that you choose is the result of your decision. So demonstrate compassion by validating with some form of acknowledgement. Having that compassion means that we suffer together. We recognize compassion fatigue. And when we recognize it, we realize that we're exhausted. So we seek support. Set boundaries. Know when you need to recharge and understand your role, because as the agent, you are responsible for making those healthy, wise decisions for the care recipient. Once again, use that person-centered lens that looks at life uniquely. This video, view it on your own because we're running out of time here and I apologize, but it's really about not putting people in boxes. It demonstrates the uniqueness in all of us, the belonging, the strength in numbers. It represents our struggles, the grief, and our loss that's not transparent. It also represents looking at people for who they are and not trying to fix them. It means we are all different and that we all have unique perspectives. When we lack confidence and when we are exhausted, we need to consider reframing our language. It's the negative inner voice in our head that diminishes our self-esteem. So think of a time when the negative voice was inside your head and it made the situation worse by telling you that maybe you were stupid, maybe that you are weak. So that would be the negative frame. I feel stupid. And the positive frame around that is changing your thinking. You feel this way because you do not understand the doctor or the situation is perhaps overwhelming. Another example might be, I hate feeling weak. That's the negative frame. The positive reframe is, you feel weak because you are exhausted. So when we personalize the N, Christy Nelson, she's the executive director of a network for grateful living and the author of Wake Up Grateful. She says we need a big reframe on gratitude, one that keeps us connected and committed to living gratefully and wedded to the possibility that it holds. And now that reframe is a grateful living. We're going to take it one step further with cultivating a radical approach to life. So radical gratitude. So you're going to practice and sustain gratefulness as an approach to life because it flies in the face of internal and external forces which want us to believe the big lie. You know, that lie that says that we need to have more and be more in order to be happy. It's not only a something good happened gratitude or I got what I wanted gratitude. It's a I woke up again today gratitude and I walked into this room already feeling grateful. That is radical gratitude. With a no matter what happens, you can still feel grateful. This video is wonderful. If you have the time to listen to it, please do. David engages us in our senses. He uses mindfulness and gratitude to live each day to the fullest. So lastly, we are going to build resilience. And how do we do that? Well, we start by building healthy connections. Remember that we cannot change people or the circumstance. We can only control ourselves. So learn to be comfortable with that and learn to be comfortable with change. Avoid running away. Find coping strategies and take that time for yourself, most importantly. When you develop some goals, make sure that they're realistic and that they're achievable. This could be a time for self-discovery, you know, a time that you might recognize your strengths and your limitations. Develop your self-confidence and trust your instinct. Keep things in perspective. Try not to avoid blowing the event out of proportion. Take that step back and visualize how you would like to see your life. And really consider the things that you do not have time for, or that you did not have time for, and now you do. Take care of your well-being and consider both physical and mental health. So your final gift from me to you is we're going to build a memory box. When I had worked in a care facility, I often heard from caregivers when their loved ones had passed away, how they had nothing left. Lana, I have nothing to take with me. There's nothing left to remember, other than the furniture, the materialistic items like clothing. So I began putting together memory boxes with families. And this was a way to provide them with a keepsake, a gift of lasting memories. So I used decorative shoe boxes. Some of the families decorated their own boxes, or you can find these boxes at Michael's or the dollar store. You can make them out of cardboard, glass, wood, or plastic. You can get one of those plastic totes. It's really about preserving your loved one's memories. It's a keepsake, a narrative in a box. Sometimes they're provided in facilities or hospitals. I don't know if they're offered here. I haven't heard about it anyway, but I know some senior facilities do offer them. They may help us come to terms with our loss. The reminder of places and events, and it's really a beautiful way to celebrate and give tribute to our loved ones. So this is just kind of some ideas for creating a memory box. There's one that is a baking theme. And then there's one that's more personalized for a gentleman at the bottom. Maybe, it looks like he enjoyed boxing. There's a little clip there. He spent some time at the beach, perhaps. So in order, you can't bring the sand to the box, but you can bring the shovel and the sand pail to the memory box. So why a memory box? Because it is really a gift for both you and the care recipient. The items in the box are really good with helping to remember and inspire these conversations, which in turn assists with a cognitive impairment. It's truly a wonderful activity that the two of you can do together. And you can bring some comfort in the box. It's a great tool that can be used for redirecting behaviors. It spurs creativity and provides a sensory experience by using all of your senses. And it strengthens that bond between the caregiver and the care recipient. And it also does that with staff. It's a narrative, a legacy in a box, and it's yours to keep when your loved one passes. So the first step in creating a memory box is by brainstorming, who do you want this box for? And what do you want to remember about your loved one? What would your loved one want to remember about you? Is there any funny sayings that you like to add, special events, vacations? Do you want to make a box that is centered around a theme? Some of the things that you might want to avoid or you might want to add to this box, you want to consider the safety, make sure that the objects aren't too heavy or sharp or breakable. If you can't replace them, consider if that's something that you want in the box. Avoid things that aren't easy to handle, things that bring positive memories. You may want to have some textures in there, some photos, and make sure it's really important that you label these photos. Put the year, the names of the people, maybe even put, if it's a vacation that you went somewhere, maybe put the name of the city, those kind of things, because they all inspire conversation and build stories. So creating a memory box, you might want to put things like a tie, tickets, greeting cards, photos. The world is your oyster, really. You can create, like I said, that theme box and put some recipe cards, or maybe a theme around gardening and put some garden gloves and garden tools and so forth. A handkerchief, badges or medals, artwork, all sorts of things that you can choose to put into the box that represent your loved one. Finally, this is a mind map. It's just one way of pulling it all together. So in the center, You're going to add who this memory box is for. You're going to add, if there's a theme, you might want to put that in the center. And then you're going to build your theme around with the outer smaller circles. So let's say if it's a vacation, maybe time at the beach, and it's for my spouse. Maybe there's memories with some pictures. I can't bring the sand to the box, so I'm going to take pictures of the sand and building sand castles. Maybe I might want to put that bucket and shovel in there. Maybe you collected some seashells. You know, maybe you had a special lunch, and you might want to create some pictures, or a blanket, and maybe cut out a piece of that material and add it to the box. It's really up to you. Use your imagination. And I thank you all for being here. And this presentation is graciously sponsored by Chartwell Retirement Residence.